Philadelphia's latest move has created some serious question marks. While the trade deadline is still days away, the players being linked to the Birds are only getting more dramatic. The latest of which is none other, you're not going to believe this, than Myles Garrett. Plus, why Cooper DeJean's position is not changing anytime soon, Howie's very difficult decision at cornerback despite trading for one, and AJ Brown goes in-depth as to why he's actually upset. I'm Thomas Mott, this is the Thomas Mott Show. Making trades around the NFL trade deadline comes with a ton of fog. At first, there's excitement, followed by confusion, and then once the dust settles, the reality of what you actually traded for finally sets in. And this is exactly what has happened with the Eagles' latest trade, as the confusion around what exactly the Birds are cooking lingers even 24 hours after. And trust me, even after the Michael Carter trade, Howie Roseman is not done, but the players he's being linked to go from nobody all the way to Myles Garrett, which I know is nuts, but believe me, you're going to want to hear this report. First, though, the winner of the Jordan Spector Art Saquon Barkley piece is announced at the end of today's show, so make sure you guys watch until the end to see if you won. We're also racing towards 110,000 subscribers, where I'll give away this signed Philly Dogs helmet, bunch of Eagle signatures on there, so if you want to win it, drop a like, be subscribed, and let me know down below. Now, of course, by now, you know Philadelphia has already made a trade, this time with the New York Jets, sending John Mechie in a 6th in 2027 for cornerback Michael Carter in a 7th. While everyone's first instinct was that Roseman traded for the Birds' newest outside cornerback, as mentioned about Fogg earlier in the show, that couldn't be further from the truth. So Michael Carter, as most of you guys know by now, played 84.7% of his career snaps in the slot, which is 1.8% coming on the outside. In fact, 80% of those 44 outside cornerback reps, pretty funny, actually came back in 2023 versus none other than his new team, the Philadelphia Eagles. So right off the bat, Michael Carter does not solve Philadelphia's big outside cornerback problem like I initially thought that he might. We'll talk about Cooper DeJean here in a second, but I've seen a lot of Michael Carter slander the past couple of hours, and it could not be further from the truth. Carter was so impressive coming out of the 5th round in 2021 that the Jets last offseason gave him a 3-year, $30 million extension. His big problem, however, is that after said extension, his 2024 campaign was injury-plagued, resulting in other younger cornerbacks taking his spot. Obviously, hence the trade. But it is worth pointing out that that $30 million contract keeps him in Philadelphia long-term. It's not a one-year rental. And he also waived a $5 million injury guarantee in order to come join Philadelphia. So don't worry about the contract. Focus on the player and what the Birds are actually getting. And if you respond by saying, well, his PFF grade this year isn't that great, I'm not going to argue that. You are correct. But his film from 2023, the last season he was fully healthy, shows he's clearly a very good inside slot corner, and obviously why Howie Roseman pulled the trigger. In fact, I actually texted a Jets reporter, my buddy Jake Asman, about Carter, and he replied with, quote, when healthy, he's a legit slot cornerback. But over the last year and a half, injuries and poor play have held him back. And this year, he looks banged up and maybe not a fit for the scheme. So when he's healthy, he's a great nickel corner. He's just not been healthy, therefore not playing well. And of course, now I start to wonder about the idea of even playing him this season. Will he get back out there on the field at all? Is he just going to be a future prospect? I don't know. But what I do know is everyone talking about, including myself, right at the trade actually happened, moving Cooper DeJean to the outside for Michael Carter to play the slot. That is not happening anytime soon. It's not just me saying this. Multiple NFL insiders have pointed out as well that they are hearing that Carter was simply a depth piece and not a DeJean replacement. For example, James Palmer, very plugged-in national NFL writer, tweeted yesterday, quote, my understanding is Michael Carter, who plays in the slot, will provide more overall versatility to the Eagles secondary. I wouldn't expect Cooper DeJean to be moving to the outside. And that, of course, is backed up by none other than Vic Fangio, who literally just 2 days ago told the media the answer the same as that question. Would he ever consider moving DeJean to the outside? And it's a very emphatic no.
We considered it, yeah. But, you know, when you have one of the better players at a certain position, and it's an important position where you get involved more, you hate to take a really good player at one position to maybe not be as good a player or impactful of a player at another position. But it's definitely something that we've talked about.
Is the school of thought that it's easier to find a slot than an outside corner? Is that incorrect?
That might be correct, but we haven't solved that here yet.
And even this morning, Greg Cosell, via the Ross Tucker podcast, he also echoed, trying to get this point across, that Carter can be very good in the slot, but the questions on the outside certainly still loom.
I think they're getting an elite slot corner, particularly in zone coverage, which raises a question. You know, they're trying to figure out right now, and again, there's still time before the trade deadline, but right now, at the outside corner position, they're basically going to play the law firm of Bennett, Jackson, and Ringo, and I don't think they feel that that law firm is good enough.
Also, I want to give a massive shout out to the sponsor of today's video, Huel. What exactly is Huel? Well, it's basically a no-prep, complete meal that actually tastes good, key point there, and fits perfectly into my routine, especially the next week or month or so, because as you guys know, on Monday, depending on when you watch this show, I'm having my very first kid, and I know cooking is going to take a backseat to raising the baby, and Huel's going to come in very handy. I'm personally loving Huel's Black Edition powder because it's high protein and low carb, with 40 grams of protein plus 27 essential vitamins and minerals. It's plant-based, it's gluten-free, and the best part is it has no artificial sweeteners. Recently, I've been having it as my post-workout shake because I want to go to the gym in the morning, come back, have a quick breakfast, and then get to work on this show, and Huel's been a game changer. And again, it not only tastes great, but it's so darn simple. 2 scoops, some cold water, shake it, and you're done. Or you just grab one of these ready-to-drink bottles. I'm loving the vanilla flavor, by the way. All in all, though, it's about $3 a meal, which is way cheaper than grabbing takeout. They also just launched their Huel Daily Greens RTD. I personally love the apple, cucumber, and mint flavor. Trust me, it's really, really good. But it's also packed with 42 vitamins and minerals, superfoods, only 25 calories, 4 grams of fiber, and it's crazy, but 1 gram of sugar. It's also been great supporting my immunity, my digestion, but also help reduce fatigue, which I keep saying I'm about to have a baby, and everyone keeps telling me you're going to be tired, and so Huel's Daily Greens are probably going to be my go-to. And so, if you want to check out Huel, well, link down below in my description box. You guys know the drill. QR code, it's somewhere right over here. Also, use promo code MOTT10 and get 15% off any of their new products or existing products. Check out Huel. You're going to love it. I've come to decide that Michael Carter is nothing more than a depth move to protect against a Cooper DeJean injury this year, and then going forward, we'll see what we have. Also, Philadelphia clearly realized that John Mechie was getting 0 playing time, so why not replace him with a player at a bigger position of need? Bring Carter in, let him learn the defense, maybe play some nickel, especially dime, by the way. That's another key factor here. Back up Coop, or even take some of those slot reps if Philadelphia wants to mix Coop more on the outside than he already is. But again, this is not a big-time blockbuster trade. It's an interesting depth piece to see what Howie Roseman does with going forward. And of course, the point I'm trying to get to here is not to bash Michael Carter. Again, I think he'll be fine. We'll see what he actually does going forward. But to emphasize that they still need a cornerback, they still need an edge rusher. And the problem is the news this morning is that it's getting a little bit more difficult to actually get one at a fair price. But of course, that doesn't mean Howie Roseman isn't trying. As NFL insider Jordan Schultz confirmed yesterday, the Eagles are, quote, in on everything. Meaning the Bears GM is at least working the phones, as we expect. His problem, though, as I said earlier, when it comes to edge rusher, is that 2 NFC teams are reportedly working to outbid him, as the shockingly reliable Ricky Scoops tweeted this morning that the Cowboys and 49ers are both expected to add defensive linemen before Tuesday's deadline. And more competition means a higher price, means a bidding war, which means the next, 3-4 days entering Tuesday, it's going to be all hands on deck in the Birds front office if they're going to go ahead and make a move. And a great example of this is none other than Bradley Chubb, who you and I both really want Philadelphia to trade for, but at least as of this morning, might not even be on the table if the Dolphins somehow beat the Ravens tonight on Thursday Night Football. As Jeremy Fowler tweeted, quote, Miami is not punting on 2025 as it relates to the NFL trade deadline, could do a deal that makes sense, but will be more reactive than proactive, not considered heavy sellers at the moment. Which kind of sounds like Dolphin propaganda given to Jeremy Fowler as if to say, we're not going to sell unless we get a great offer, or they win on Thursday night, which you're watching this on Friday. You'll know if they did win or not. This is being filmed before the game. My guess is the Ravens win. That gives the Dolphins, a 2-7 record. Then I think after Friday, Bradley Chubb becomes a lot more available. It is worth noting, and I'll keep saying this every single day, that Philadelphia does have other options that don't involve making a move. Obviously, their internal free ideas, like waiting for Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham to get back and hoping they're enough for the rising pass rusher unit that did technically just generate 5 sacks this Sunday versus the New York Giants. They also have the 3rd highest ranked shutdown cornerback in the league, going back to other positions other than edge rusher in Quinyon Mitchell. So simply relying on Q and Coop plus one of Kelee, Adoree, Jacorian might be enough to hold down the outside. I don't think so, but Howie might. Still, I have seen a lot of people asking about other free agent non-trade options, aka Asante Samuel Jr., and what do you know? Jeremy Fowler gave a recent update saying, quote, an update on Asante Samuel, he's scheduled to undergo a CT scan in October to ensure successful spine fusion. At that point, he'll look to sign for a team in the second half of the year. Several teams have kept in touch, which now, as of 2 days ago, would include the Green Bay Packers, who reportedly had Samuel in for a workout this week, but did not sign him because he is still not cleared for contact following his spinal fusion. And so for those wondering, or at least in my comment section, every single day the past 2 weeks saying, what about Asante Samuel Jr.? It sounds like the workouts are starting to happen. As I just said, he went and worked out with the Green Bay Packers. No confirmation he's worked out with the Philadelphia Eagles just yet, but he's not been cleared for contact, which means if they were to sign him today, he's not playing versus the Packers 2 Mondays from now. He might not even play in November or December. Asante Samuel Jr. would be a long-term play and not a trade deadline fix at the Eagles cornerback 2 spot. Personally, when it comes to cornerback, you guys know how I feel. I want Tyreek Woolen or Denzel Ward. If you're really trying to lock down the outside cornerback slot, those are the 2 guys currently on the market. If not, maybe you like Adoree Jackson. Maybe you like Kelee Ringo. Maybe Ja'Cory Bennett's going to be your savior. But as it stands right now, Woolen and Ward, if they want to make a move, those are the 2 guys. Now, moving on to A.J. Brown here briefly, and there's a very viral tweet from a quote-unquote journalist saying that apparently, according to sources, the Patriots recently made an offer of a second-round pick in exchange for wide receiver A.J. Brown. However, key point here, don't miss this, the Eagles declined the offer, which obviously is hilarious because it makes it sound like the Eagles are listening to offers for A.J. Brown, when in reality, if the report is true, the Patriots picked up the phone, called Howie Roseman and said, hey, how about a second for A.J. Brown? And Howie went, hey, how about no? And hung up. I should not be the one to tell you that A.J. Brown is worth a lot more, especially to Philadelphia, than a second-round pick. But I also don't have to tell you that the $50 million dead cap hit that would be assumed by Philadelphia if they trade A.J. Brown is an additional 50 million reasons why a second-round draft pick would not get it done. And as I've said for months now, Philadelphia is in no position, nor do they want to trade A.J. Brown. But I do think for all the people saying that A.J. Brown is unhappy, you really need to go read the brand new article by Brooks Kubana via The Athletic, where he gave all the details with direct quotes from A.J. Brown on what's going on. Where Brown simply explained it as, quote, you may see a little frustration. It's because I really want to contribute. I really want to help this team win. But if I'm not getting the ball, obviously it's not as fun. Obviously I want to win. That's the main goal. But I want to help. I want to do my thing as well. So it's a little toll here and there sometimes, but I think that's where the misunderstanding comes from everyone out there. To be honest, I could really care less. This got me here, and me playing this way, me having that drive, me having that mindset, it's going to keep me here. I cannot recommend reading that Athletic article from a couple of days ago by Brooks Kubana on A.J. Brown because it seems like he just talked to A.J. Brown one-on-one, and A.J. laid it all out there. And as I just read, he wants to contribute. He wants to get the football. He gets frustrated when he doesn't, and I guess I understand that. I wish he didn't tweet out crazy stuff like he has in the past, but you can't really blame a guy who definitely believes he's the best wide receiver in the NFL, who wants to contribute and wants to help this football team. But the main takeaway is that he doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want to go anywhere, and Philadelphia is not going to trade him unless they got some crazy offer, which they won't. A.J. Brown is going to stay. He's not getting moved. He will be here after the Tuesday trade deadline. Now, moving to the craziest story of the day, which you might click away right now whenever you see that I'm talking about Myles Garrett, but trust me, I did find the actual reporting on this, and it does sound somewhat legit, but either way, ESPN Cleveland spent the entire day today, Thursday, discussing a report floating around that the Eagles are willing to give up 3 first-round draft picks to trade for Myles Garrett before the trade deadline.
Rumor going around, and I have not heard it out of the Eagles, but I've heard it from a couple of other high-ranking people in other teams that are clearly on the phones, that, Howie Roseman and the Eagles are super hot after Myles Garrett, and how he'd give up 3 first-round picks for him.
If you're wondering where the report comes from, well, it was Yahoo Sports reporter Charles Robinson. It's their lead NFL reporter. So this is not some blog site, some SB Nation site, some crazy rumor made up on Reddit. It's a legit reporter saying that Howie Roseman really, really wants Myles Garrett. The problem is, they say at the end there, the Browns are not that interested. But this whole idea of Garrett being traded has been gaining a little bit of ground. I mean, Pat McAfee did a whole segment literally yesterday explaining how quote-unquote tradable Myles Garrett's current contract looks. Although, as with all the A.J. Brown rumors, McAfee shockingly left out the $60 million dead cap hit the Browns would eat if they traded Garrett to Philly or anywhere else. Although technically, we do forget that Denver ate $80 million in dead cap money for Russell Wilson, so 60 is not some unheard of number. But then you're probably saying, Thomas, didn't Myles Garrett just this past offseason, he was linked to Philadelphia, we covered it, and then he signed back with the Browns and said that he wanted to stay in Cleveland. He wanted to win, but he wanted to stay in Cleveland. So why is he all of a sudden wanting a trade if the rumors are true? And well, one idea comes from Cleveland reporter Bruce Drennan, who said this morning that Garrett resigned because the front office told him they were about to trade for Dak Prescott in the offseason. Hence why he might now be looking to move because they never got Dak Prescott. But again, much like the A.J. Brown trade, the dead cap, it just feels like too much here. And as Adam Schefter noted yesterday, for those wondering if the Browns will consider trading Myles Garrett by Tuesday's deadline, the answer is, in the words of one source, no chance. People have a better chance of winning the lottery. Still, you can juxtapose the Jeremy Fowler report from yesterday, where he also added, quote, the idea of the Browns trading Garrett isn't inconceivable, especially if that's what he wants. He didn't come out and say it in his news conference Sunday, but he also made it very clear he's not happy with the way things are going. Be the biggest move of the deadline or the next offseason trade market by quite a bit. But if a team is desperate for an impact pass rusher, it might also be a call worth making. I'm just going to say this. I know that trade deadline rumors are a dime a dozen, and where there's smoke, maybe there's fire, or maybe it's just a lot of smoke. I don't think Philadelphia is going to trade for Myles Garrett. I don't think Howie Roseman's offering 3 first-round draft picks. I don't know how I would feel about that. I'm curious what you guys would think. Would you give up 3 first-round draft picks, 26, 27, and 28th draft picks in the first round for Myles Garrett? Let me know down below in the comment section. I'll just say this. I'm so confident the Eagles are not going to trade for Myles Garrett that if it were to happen the day before the NFL trade deadline, which is this coming Monday, when my wife gives birth to our very first child, I'm literally going to have to leave the hospital to give you guys an update because I'll be so shocked. So obviously I'm not going to do that, but I don't think they're trading for Myles Garrett. It's a fun rumor. It has legit reporting, which is why I talk about it on today's show, because normally I ignore stuff that doesn't have reporting behind it. But I don't know. Give me y'all's thoughts in the comment section. My hope is overall, Philadelphia as a team has looked at what they just did to the Giants and has realized once again they are a contender in the NFC as it currently stands with this roster. And yet, you can try and make a splash. I would love Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Trey Hendrickson, Bradley Chubb, but you don't have to go ahead and sell the farm in order to mortgage the future to try to win right now, because again, I think the roster is good enough to go ahead and win right now. And that's where I'm at right now. I would love a trade. I think Philadelphia is going to make a trade. I will continue to stand by Tyreek Woolen or Bradley Chubb. Those two make the most sense to me, and I think those teams have ties to Philadelphia. They traded with them before. It just makes sense. But I think the Spurs roster is good. I think it's really good. And I think Kevin Patullo is trending in the right direction. And Vic Fangio is also trending in the right direction. They're starting to get sacks. They're starting to play better coverage on the back end. They don't need moves to win a Super Bowl. Will it help? Yes. But in the end, they can stay put. And honestly, I'll be disappointed, but I'm not going to, freak out and say, oh, we're doomed to not winning another one. Now, of course, before we wrap, as I mentioned, the winner of the Jordan Spector Art Saquon Barkley piece, which you can also pick up by yourself, I have a discount code down below, was randomly selected subscriber M. Bauman35, who commented and included Saquon as per the requirements on a previous show this week. Plenty more giveaways are happening, so let me just mention this. With Bauman, go ahead and go down to my description box and prove it's you. Send me an email. I'll get this bad boy sent out to you as soon as possible. Now, before we wrap here, let me just say it again. This could be my last show for a couple of days because I do have my first child on Monday. Monday morning officially is the scheduled date. Something happens, we'll see if I can get a show out, but no promises there. I'm going to try and enjoy the fact I'm having my first kid. Very excited, my wife and I are. But I will have a show next week at some point, so be sure to go ahead and subscribe. Give me some grace if I don't get to a trade or something happens and I'm not live for it, but I'm pumped. Trade deadline a couple of days away. The Eagles and Packers is going to be 10 days away at this point. Cannot be more exciting time to be in Philadelphia, and also for me becoming a new father. So I appreciate all y'all's kind words, all the comments. I'll read them all, and we'll see you guys when I see you guys. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.